Going in, I weighed around 180-ish, give or take a pound or two. The lowest weight that they actually weighed me, which was I was in a bed that they could weigh you in, it was like 136, but I think I lost even more than that. Roughly, I'd say around 50 pounds. Laying there, not being able to do anything, no movement. I was on a feeding tube, too. I couldn't eat. Muscle just evaporated.
What's going through your mind?
Throughout this whole thing, I never panicked. I never was like, and I had a peace about, definitely concerned. But it was like, everything's gonna be okay, man.
This is NL10 Podcast number 15 with your host, Nathan Lowry. In 1859, a French physician by the name of Octave Landry first described a condition that he found as acute ascending paralysis, or Landry's paralysis. This description highlighted the symptoms, including paralysis that started in the legs and progressed upward. In 1916, three different scientists by the names of Guillain-Barré and Stroll reported on two different cases of acute flaccid paralysis, noting elevated protein levels in the cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF, despite normal cell blood counts. This finding was crucial in distinguishing GBS, Guillain-Barré Syndrome, from other conditions, particularly infections like syphilis or tuberculosis, which would also have an increase in CSF proteins, but typically with a higher white cell blood count. What they found and their findings was that they came across this syndrome that is very rarely come across, but can be activated by even the smallest of little viruses or bugs or little sniffles that we may have every single day, and a syndrome called Guillain-Barré Syndrome, with paralysis starting in your feet and slowly working its way up until you are in a potential full state of paralysis in their most severe cases. Today is a day that I am very much looking forward to, and I have been looking forward to for a very, very long time. My good friend, my buddy, he has been a friend, he has been a mentor, he has been a father figure to me. Wesley McIssac is here to join us today to talk about his experience fighting Guillain-Barré Syndrome and his complete experience and journey, 9-month-long journey from having a normal day-to-day life as a UPS driver to being all the way down in a bed, full state paralysis, looking straight up above, all the way back to work in a very miraculous and outstanding experience. I hope you guys enjoy this. I have very much enjoyed this interview. It's a fun one. It's one of my favorite. I want to say, first off, before we get into it, thank you to Antioch Baptist Church and Dr. Trent McLaughlin for allowing us to be able to use one of their Sunday school rooms to film this podcast. It was a great time. We absolutely appreciate it. I will say, going in, we had a couple of audio issues kind of in the first couple of minutes, but it's very quickly fixed and everything goes on from there. But without further ado, my good buddy, my good friend, a Guillain-Barré Syndrome survivor, Mr. Wesley McIssac. How's it going, dude? How you doing, buddy?
Going well, man. Going well.
No, good. I'm glad to have you on here finally, man. We've been talking about this for I know of a few months, to say the least, and I'm looking forward to talking about it, man. How you doing afterwards?
I'm doing great, man. It's an honor to be on here, to be able to talk about it, and thank you for having me on, man.
Yeah, this is the first time you've ever done, I think, a formal interview of this sense, and to see the experience of Guillain-Barré Syndrome, something that is very rare but can happen to anybody at any point in time, and to seeing you go through this thing was very eye-opening to me, and very alarming, and to see where you are today, a guy that you look at him, you couldn't tell that he was in a state of paralysis in the state that you were in for that period of time. To see you now, there's no way you could think, oh yeah, just about a little over a year ago, he was in a hospital bed laying flat on his back. So tell me, how in the world did it come about? What was the original diagnosis? How did you start figuring this thing out, and what kind of happened from there?
I woke up on January the 8th of 2024 and had, well, it was early in the morning. I woke up and had a lower back aching, just uncommon, but I do work out, and the Saturday before, which would have been the 6th of January, I did a pretty intense leg workout. So I thought it was just something, from a workout. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I got up, took some leave, went back to bed, didn't think anything of it. And, but then I woke up, around 5:30 to get ready for work, and I noticed I had a little bit of tingling in my toes, tips of my fingers, just something just kind of weird. Nothing really bad, but it was different.
Right.
And of course I told my wife about it, and she, was like, you need to get, keep an eye on it. And I said, I'm good. So I went on to work that day at UPS. It was on a Monday, like I said, and throughout the course of the day, I just noticed the tingling increased a little bit, more in my toes and my fingers, and just my arms and legs just got real heavy feeling. I mean, just to step up on the package car and walking, it just was weird feeling, just heavy. And throughout the course of the day, it kind of got worse. And so I get home that night, finish work, and get home that night, and of course my wife asked me. She said, is it any better? And I was like, no, it's actually worse. And she was adamant, you need to go get checked. And I said, I know, I do. Let me go get a shower, and we'll go from there. So I went to get a shower, and when I was in the shower, I was washing my back, and I had a numb spot in the middle of my back, and that really hit home. It was, wow, something is going on here. I do need to get checked. So I went on to the emergency room in Waxhaw, because we're in the Atrium medical system. So I went to the emergency room in Waxhaw, and they just asked me questions, just didn't really do anything. They thought it, and I thought it might be to a pinched nerve.
Right. I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, and I've never had a pinched nerve, but talking to people who had a pinched nerve, they said it's painful. I didn't have any pain. So that was kind of, so they did checks, they, sent me home, said to follow up with my family doctor. Get an appointment with my family doctor as soon as I can, do a follow-up. Well, by the grace of God, that was on the 8th of January. I was able to get a follow-up appointment on January 10th with my family doctor. But I woke up on the morning of the 9th, and it was even worse as far as the heavy legs, feet, tingling worse. I remember, and I couldn't work that day. I called UPS and said, look, something's going on. I'm gonna take a sick day today to find out what's going on. I'd already had the doctor's appointment, so I told him I got a doctor's appointment on the 10th tomorrow, so something's going on. But I remember I ate oatmeal then, and I still do some, but and our microwave is up on the shelf, and I remember trying to get a bowl of oatmeal up in my microwave, and I couldn't even get my arms lifted up to put the bowl in the microwave.
Golly.
Yeah, it was.
That's crazy.
It had gone downhill that fast. So I didn't work that way that day. Excuse me, and throughout the course of that day on the 9th, it progressively got worse, and I'm thankful I had that doctor's appointment. So the next day on the 10th, I get up. My wife Andrea was going to take me to this doctor appointment, but she contracted a stomach virus, so she was unable. So I called my sister, who's retired, Jill, and she came and took me because I realized I couldn't drive.
Yeah. I
probably could have, but it wouldn't have been a good idea. That's
right.
kind of condition I was in. So she takes me to my doctor's appointment, and I walk in and to the doctor, and I tell her, what's going on, tingling feet, arms, fingers, weak. And the first thing she asked me was, did you have a flu vaccine? And I'm like, no, I haven't had a flu vaccine. She said, have you been sick lately? And I said, well, thinking back, this was January the 10th. Back at Christmas, I did have something. I didn't go to the doctor. I didn't, I was just felt bad, had a headache, low-grade fever, just drowsy, and it lasted 4 or 5 days. And she said, And she immediately said, I think you got Guillain-Barré Syndrome. And that was the first time I had ever heard of that word.
Really?
Yeah. First time I've been introduced to Guillain-Barré was then.
So run it back for me. Are you looking up stuff on Google? I mean, I know how we all are when we get sick. We're Google warriors. I mean, The first thing you're doing is, did they kind of tell you what it was, or did they just say, hey, this is happening to you right now?
Well, she didn't really go into detail then. She actually left the room. She said, let me go. I'm going to go speak to another doctor. Mm-hmm. So she went out and spoke. I don't know who it was. She came back in and she said, yeah, I think you have Guillain-Barré Syndrome. And she didn't go into really detail what it was. And I didn't immediately pull out my phone. In a way,
right.
I didn't panic. It wasn't like, what's going on? What, I was like, okay.
I got you.
It wasn't, I guess I was just confused, didn't understand, I didn't know. And the way she was reacting, it wasn't like, she had a horrifying, oh, you have Guillain-Barré,
Oh, really?
So it did, it wasn't like it was life or death. So I wasn't,
right.
Concerned, too concerned at the point, but I knew something was going on.
Right.
But when she'd come back in, she said, you need to go to the emergency room in Monroe. Not, she wasn't like, it was like, you need to go to the emergency room in Monroe.
And she was relatively calm about it.
Oh, yeah, she was calm.
Cool.
She was,
okay.
Yeah, definitely calm.
Which is good.
Concerned, but calm.
Right.
But she said, you need to go to the emergency room in Monroe. She said, I suggest Monroe because if you go to Pineville or Charlotte, it's going to be a little more crowded. Mm-hmm. And let them admit you so they can run more tests to make sure, this is what you have. And so that's what we did. We left. My sister, we left and went to. And in that, too, another way she diagnosed me, too, I guess, you know how you check your reflexes on your leg. Doctor checks your reflexes on your leg.
Right.
She checked nothing there. She got the little
so your knee wasn't jumping.
Yeah, no, knee was not jumping at all. No reflexes, which is a sign of that. So, but she was on it.
So you started noticing on the 8th. Was that right? I think you told me you woke up that morning and you started noticing on the 8th. Mm-hmm. By the 10th, on the 9th, you couldn't put your oatmeal in the microwave, and then on the 10th, it's like this thing is ramping up pretty fast.
Right.
So this thing's happening fairly quick. Over the course of 48 hours, you're to a point like I can't really drive. It wouldn't be a good idea if I did.
Right.
Your reflexes are already down. You leave from there. What happens next? You go to the hospital.
Yeah, we get to the emergency room in Monroe and, check in. And, of course, you wait.
Right.
And through the course of waiting, I had to get up and go to the bathroom. And I noticed just getting up and walking to the bathroom was work.
Oh, it was getting harder.
And it's my gait wasn't stable. It was kind of off balance, and I'm like, man. And that's when I was really starting to, something's serious going on here. But I never did. Like I keep throughout this whole thing, I never panicked. I never was like, And I had a peace about. Definitely concerned. But it was like, everything's gonna be okay, man. Even at that point,
that's absolutely crazy to me. Considering, I know you've always been a very fit guy. You work out every day. You were flipping tires before you came over here. You always take care of your body. You do because of your family and your son and everything. And to see, so for me, I'm coming to work I remember Nick Saban retired like the day you went to the doctor. I remember you sent a message to us in our Bible study chat, and you're like, "Hey, not gonna make it today, going to the doctor." And I'm like, "Oh, well, he's finally going to the doctor." But then I never heard from you again for a week, and I'm like, "What is going on here?" And I tried to reach out, and I was like, "There's something right here." Wes doesn't not show up to work. He's always there. Yeah. And it wasn't until the following Wednesday when Antonio, one of our coworkers, looked at me and he was like, "Oh, they were having a conversation in the office. I come in, punch in, and I'm like, hey, we're just doing my thing." And two drivers are talking to Antonio and another one. I can't forget who the other one was. And he said, "Oh, well, I'm sure Nathan's heard from him." And it piques my ears, and I turn around and say, "What's up?" He says, "Oh, we're sure you talked to Wes." I'm like, honestly, no. I hadn't been able to get in contact with him at all. And it looked like I broke Antonio's heart when I said that, because like everybody knows that we talk, and we're relatively close. And he looks at me and he says, "Nathan, you don't know what's going on?" I'm like, "No, what do you mean?" And he tells me, he says, "Nathan, he's paralyzed." That's the sentence he comes out with. No. And dude, I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. I got out of the building. I left. I got my truck. I just got out of there. Just got on the road, and I'm thinking, what? Because I'm like, was he in a wreck? Was there an issue? Did something happen? Did something hit his back? Is it at work? What's going on here? And I got in contact with you, thankfully, right before you couldn't contact anymore. And you were in the hospital. So how long did it take from the day from January the 8th to get to a point where you're put in a bed and you're not coming out of it? You don't know how long.
Well, really, I mean, from that point on, I remember, on the 10th when they finally admitted me and I got to a room. This doctor came in with a intern, or it was a younger doctor, and they said they had to do a lumbar puncture. You'd mentioned in the introduction that excess proteins in your spinal fluid.
Right.
They had to do a lumbar puncture to get spinal fluid to see if there was elevated protein levels. And I remember, bending over and hugging a pillow, and this intern kept sticking the needle, trying to find, because evidently in my hip bone there's two circles that they have to stick the needle through to get into your spinal fluid, and she was unable to get through the hole.
Yeah.
And the veteran doctor kept, okay, we'll do that. And it seemed like hours that they were trying.
Are you feeling this happen?
Yeah, but it's not like a spinal tap. It's not, it's uncomfortable, but it's not like, it is as bad as it seems.
Right.
But it's just,
that sounds pretty tough for me.
Yeah, but and they couldn't get in to get a sample. So the doctor says, and by this time it's probably going on 8:30 p.m. in the evening. Mm-hmm. And he says, we're sorry, we cannot get your spinal fluid. So what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and admit you, or get you in your room. And tomorrow we're going to send you down to radiology, where they'll do an x-ray and we can find exactly where to stick the needle to get the fluid.
Right.
So that happened the next day. They finally got it. And of course my cerebral spinal fluid was elevated to just confirm that I did have Guillain-Barré Syndrome. And from that point on the 11th, Nathan, I don't know, from then on it was kind of like a blur, but I would say, I think, and I really need my wife Andrea here to help with this, but I would think around the 15th, 16th of January, I was totally bedridden. Now, I still could move somewhat, but no walking, no getting up, moving on my own. I was in the bed.
Wow. That is alarming at how fast that happened. Yeah. And to go back, it started off of a little sniffle that you had basically during Christmas time.
A upper respiratory virus that I had during Christmas.
I remember you coming back from Christmas like, man, we had a good Christmas, but man, I was kind of puny the entire time. And I'm like,
and it wasn't anything bad. I mean, I knew I had a little fever, sniffle, headache, just tired for 3 or 4 days, and it was gone. So it took, and that was December 25th to say the 28th, but this didn't show up till January 8th.
That's crazy.
So yeah,
and to think, okay, so after you're put into bed. And basically about a working week's time, you went from your day-to-day life to you're in a bed, you can't hardly move, and it's only going downhill at this point in time.
Yeah.
What are the doctors telling you as you're going down? Are they trying? I would assume they're trying to comfort you, of course, but where they say, give it a little bit and you'll be fine, or this might be permanent. This could be. What's that look like on the way down the hill, if you will?
Well, I mean, they were real with me. They said that, I will continually get worse because there's different levels of Guillain-Barré syndrome. I mean, there's, from a week, going from a normal work day to just being in the bed, being able to move somewhat became that for some that has Guillain-Barré syndrome, that's it. They don't continue to go down. But I, unfortunately, had a more severe case of it. Yeah. And I guess they didn't know that, but they were giving me the worst case scenario. They were saying, hey, this can get worse, Not really life-threatening because, they did a series of tests on me. They were trying to find out if there was any other underlying health conditions that I may have. Mm-hmm. And by the grace of God, being blessed by God, I try to take care of myself. I had none. So they were saying, yes, it could get worse. It could get to the point where you can't breathe. You had to be put on a ventilator. And, but on the bright side of things, with Guillain-Barré syndrome and with my condition, not having any other health issues, it just takes time. It goes down, you hit a plateau, and then I think they said 85-90% of Guillain-Barré syndrome will recover fully to an extent. Right. It just takes time, but be prepared for worse, for a worse situation.
Did they know off the rip that you had a more severe case, or as you're going down, they're doing studies to figure this out? Like, okay, now we're kind of figuring out a time frame. Was that something you kind of knew instantly, or does it kind of take a little bit of time to figure that out?
No, it just takes time. They didn't know off the bat. It just, you have to wait and see how it affects you. Right. But they were giving me the worst case scenario to prepare me just in case it did happen, and it did.
And it got all the way to a point where you couldn't talk anymore. You had to have a trach put in, a feeding tube.
Yeah, I had to be put on a ventilator because it affects, like you in your introduction, it starts at your feet. So what it is, and I know you, in layman's terms, I guess you could say it's a autoimmune, and I don't want to say disease because it's not autoimmune syndrome. Yeah, that your immune system attacks your nerves. And the covering of your nerves, called the myelin sheath, it eats away that and exposes your nerves. That way your nerves can't transmit messages to your brain. So that's what causes the numbness, the tingling, and the paralysis eventually.
Yeah, that's where the disconnect comes.
Right, the disconnect. And they were telling me that, depending on how far or how advanced I get into this, the more damage could be done to my nerves. Right. So, and I don't know where we're going with this. I can't remember the question.
No, you're fine.
I can't remember. I lost what.
Where I was, ultimately trying to get to is, and I also really love, by the way, I keep noticing you got your shirt on today. It's built to endure. Romans 5:3-5.
And that was one of my favorite. That's really one of the verses that got me through this, man.
Well, it's kind of funny bringing that up because that's where I'm headed to. Mindset. What's going through your mind? You're from April 8th or January 8th to a point where you've got tubes running in and out of you and everything, and it's a pretty shocking transition.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind?
Definitely concerned, definitely wanting to know, okay, what's up with this? How bad is this going to be? You know, in my mind, and it's all kind of selfish stuff if you look at it. You said I like to work out. Okay, how is this going to affect my body, man? All this hard work I put, I want selfish stuff.
Yeah.
But
which is understandable.
Yeah, but, I had to be put on a ventilator, and they had to put me under, to do all this. And after it was done, when I was coming to, I saw a light surrounding me.
Wow.
But up above that light, I saw another light. And I really think, I know him. That was God's way of saying, look, I got you, man. You're right here. You surrounded by these angels. I got something better for you. I got my hanky, man. And I knew right then, that was his way of telling me, letting me know, I got you. I got you, man. Put your trust and faith in me. I got you. And Kinley, my daughter, was there with me when they were, and she said I was saying angels. And she's like, Dad, you see angels? And I was shaking my head, yeah. But that was his way, God's way of reassuring me, man. I got you. We got you. That was angels surrounding me. Plus, I had my angels and my family and friends too. But it was like, I got you here, but there's something better. You're not going there yet. Mm-hmm. We got you right here. That was, yeah. I haven't really.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is something I didn't know.
Yeah, I hadn't shared that with too many people. My family knows, of course, but and through all that, I know God's got something through me through this to share, and I just hadn't got to that point yet. And hey, this is a start of it here.
Absolutely.
But going, after that, Nathan, it was like, I got this, man. I was never worried in the fact that, I'm gonna die or I'm never gonna be. I was at peace, man. Now, I did have concerns. I did get frustrated throughout the course of this whole thing. I am human. But through this whole, I didn't. I knew I was gonna be okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
I knew I was gonna be okay.
That is something. That's powerful, really.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that part with us. Honestly, that is awesome. But that, once you had the ventilator put in, once that moment happens, one thing I will say is this boy is a very popular boy. I'll tell you that much now. So he's been working for UPS now for 28 years. Am I right? At that time?
It'll be 30 next month.
Oh man. Okay. Wow. Okay. 30 years now. And you take care of an area in Chesterfield, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And it's a very small town, very quaint, nice little town. I love it to death. It's great. They showed up and showed out for you.
Yeah.
They showed up and sent things and would come see you. People at work would do the same. Oh, yeah. I came and saw you Super Bowl Sunday, and that was an interesting time, to say the least. Because we've been friends. I know how you look and everything else, and I didn't know what I was walking into when I first came up there. And I was with my girlfriend at the time. We went up, got there to the hospital. I said, "Oh, I'm finally going to go see him." I wanted to kind of wait until everybody kind of came and saw, and maybe you wouldn't be bombarded with a bunch of people at the time. And when I was going up, got the check-in, and was going up the elevator. And as I was going up the elevator, something kind of set in. I got nervous. Yeah. I kind of on the borderline of even kind of scared. I'm a man enough to admit I got a little petrified. I'm like, I don't know what I'm getting ready to walk into. And she kind of looked at me, and she could see it. And If I'm afraid, you can eventually you can pick it up. And she's like, it's going to be all right. It's going to be cool. And we got up to your room. The doctor was coming in just to do a normal check and whatnot. And I think maybe even to flip you or whatever the case had been at that time. And I'm glad that happened because I needed that quick little 5 minutes to kind of collect myself. But when I came in, by this time, you could shake and move your head. Mm-hmm. So how long did it take from going completely down to where, you full state paralysis, you're just there to the point where you could start seeing any kind of movement? The head, when did the head start to happen?
Wow. I really don't know. Like I said, it all just ran together. I just know it seemed like a very long time from when I just couldn't do anything, couldn't breathe on my own, couldn't blink my eyes, move my head. Mm-hmm. You said that was Super Bowl Sunday, and I was moving my head.
You were moving your head on Super Bowl Sunday. Yeah, that was the Chiefs and 49ers one.
Yeah, so I don't know. Did I get worse? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't.
I know by the time that I had got there, Andrea told me while we were there, because that's the first time me and Andrea had really met. We had saw each other before at the UPS store back when I worked there, when I was still just a preloader at UPS, but we had never fully had a conversation. We did that night, and she told me that you had gotten to a point where you could finally move your head. So that wouldn't been 3 weeks maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that?
So, yeah, 3 weeks. I just know it just seemed like forever. And I kept.
I believe it.
In my, my conversations with God, I'm like, God, I know you got me. You've revealed you got me. You got me through this.
How long till you got me?
Yeah. I know there's something, but any day now, Lord, you can give me a sign that you got me. Mm-hmm. And I don't know when it was. Evidently, it was after you visited, but I know Austin, my son, was with me, and because Andrea was there with me the whole time, and man, if I start talking about that, I will. She's amazing, but Austin, he was there, and I had moved my leg a little bit. And he's like, Dad, you just moved your leg. Do it again. I did it again. He got his phone out and was recorded and sent it out to everybody. And that had to be, I don't know, he probably knows, maybe a week or two after you were there. Mm-hmm. Maybe 1st of February sometime. I don't know.
I remember Andrea got me in contact with Kinley, and Kinley got me, and I think it was Austin, I believe, in a group text, and they would tell me when stuff would happen at that point in time.
Yeah.
And I think it was like a week or two after.
Yeah.
I remember being in your hospital room talking to Andrea, and I just like looking at you, and I said, I just got a weird feeling that the second he starts moving, he's just going to start moving. Yeah. And Andrea said, I believe the same thing. Yeah. She says, and sure enough, 2 weeks later, here we are.
And it was a joyful day. I mean, that was we celebrated, but
because when I saw you, you still couldn't talk. You still couldn't talk yet. You could shake your head, and you could not.
Yeah, and it took a while too. I mean, that was like my voice came long time after the movement was there. But after I got that little sign, it was just like, and now I was like, okay, let's do some more. But God was still, be patient. Mm-hmm. Be patient. I got this. I learned a lot of patience during this whole ordeal. I mean, laying there flat in the hospital bed in the room, looking straight up, like, God, I got you. Now, do I have your attention?
Yeah.
You're totally dependent on me. Not only spiritual, but now physical. Patience, I got you. And, just the little things that progressed after that movement of my legs, and over time, I was in the hospital from January 10th to April 23rd. So, slowly but surely, I was climbing up that hill, which the doctors had told me that it would eventually happen. But how long, we don't know. So we were getting there. And then, after, I guess the next big thing was, I was moving my arms, able to lift my arms a little bit, and still had the trach though. And getting off the trach, that was big, because my diaphragm had to get stronger where I could breathe on my own. And just that was difficult because of they tried to take me off the trach one time, and I just kind of panicked because, the breathing thing, I couldn't.
Right.
And they was like, just calm down. And I eventually got off that, and to hear my voice, I looked over and told Andrea I loved her.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, we just both bawled just to hear my voice again. Now she might think, maybe she didn't want to hear it all the time, but no, just the little things like that was just, man, a big accomplishment, and just victories, small victories that making steps to getting better. And eventually, I in the course of January 10th to April 23rd, I was in Pineville for a couple of weeks. I was up at CMC, Maine for a couple of weeks, back to Pineville for a couple of weeks. And then I finished out at Carolina Rehab up at CMC, Maine for my inpatient rehab, which was April 2nd to April 23rd. And that's when the progression really took hold. When I left Pineville on April the 2nd, I could barely stand maybe 20, 25 seconds on my own. Wow. I was in a wheelchair, still not walking on my own, of course. And within a week of getting to rehab at Carolina Rehab, I was taking steps with assistance now within 4 days maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. And then within 2 weeks, I was taking steps on my own without any assistance. Whoa. And then, of course, a week later, it was a 3-week rehab. I was walking on my own. Now, I went home with a walker. Well, they sent me home with a wheelchair, but I didn't, use that as much. I did have a walker. And then when I got home, of course, I was the next day on April 23rd or 2nd, when I got out, I was walking up and down the driveway with my walker. I said, this thing ain't getting me. It's not getting me. But kudos. I mean, the therapists there at Carolina Rehab just pushed me. They were great. You could tell they loved their job, and it was awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And they really worked me. And after, I went back to work September 11th. I mean, it was,
9 months and a day from being in the hospital, right?
8 months and a day, I think.
8 months and a day.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, 8 months to the day when I was diagnosed, because I really wasn't diagnosed with Guillain-Barré Syndrome until January 11th. Because they couldn't get that fluid on the 10th. So from January 11th to September 11th, 9/11. Yeah. I was back at work, and here we are, man.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Because I know when I was on the road, my brother was running your route. And, we kind of check in. He'd ask me questions like, hey, Nate, where does this potentially go? I'm like, oh, this, that, and the other thing. And I called him, and we were on the phone, and he got to talking to one of the customers, bless it, Lisa. Yeah. Got to talking to her and was having a conversation with her. And, that happens all the time. He'd be on the road, we'd be talking and, have a conversation with a customer or something like that. And he said, oh, yeah, I just got off the phone with him talking about you. I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean you just got off the phone with him? I'm sitting there like trying to get his attention while he's talking to Lisa. I'm like, what are you talking about? And sure enough, it wasn't 2 minutes later he got done with that conversation. And I said, what do you mean you just got off the phone with him? He said, oh, yeah, Wes is good now. I said, what do you mean Wes is good now? And I called you And I think Andrew picked up the phone for you or something like that. And you're like, "What's up, Big Nate?" I'm like, "What is happening here?" Like, oh my gosh, man. Dude, when from the outside looking in, you go down, and it felt like there was that time, that waiting time, that patience, that built to endure moment for you there. That it looks like God's putting you through a time of just patience. And I know you've described it to me as he put you flat on his back looking up at him, and that's all you could do.
Yeah,
you got one option, and that's it.
That's it.
And during that time, you're having to be patient. You're having to try and keep that positive mentality. And I mean, considering the experience you had, it helps a little bit, just a smidge, I would think, to have an experience like that. But as you start to see the breakthrough, as you're starting to see that little bit of movement, okay, I'm starting to walk. I'm standing for 25 seconds. 4 days later, all right, I can walk a little bit with some assistance. What are you doing personally? Because I know you reached out to some outside sources as well to try and get the best that you possibly could of your rehab to get it as quick as possible to get yourself back to going. What were you doing?
As far as
I know you reached out to a family neurologist as well to talk to him about some supplements, some natural supplements that you could take, some vitamins and things like that, but also workouts. What were you doing?
You talking about after I got home?
Yeah. Once you got home you're starting to.
After I got home, I continued with outpatient therapy up at CMC at Carolina Rehab.
How long did that go for?
It lasted. Well, I had occupational therapy and physical therapy, both inpatient and outpatient. The outpatient, occupational therapy didn't last, I'm going to say, to maybe the 1st of June sometime. Yeah. And then physical therapy lasted on into July. But what I would do, I had that, of course, going, twice a week most of the time doing that. But the days in between, I would just get information from my therapist. Hey, what can I do at home? And they would give me exercises. They would, stretches. Stretching was big too. Stretches, exercises, do this. It's kind of the same stuff they were doing to me in therapy sessions. Right. I would do at home. Man, I started back lifting weights. Man, I got on my bench and got my dumbbells, 10 pounds or something. I mean, I was trying to get back into my normal routine as much as I could, you know, that I did before, and to get these muscles built up. Because, man, you saw me. I lost a lot of my muscle. I mean, I lost.
What was your weight going
pounds.
In versus what was your weight at your, I guess, smallest?
Yeah. Going in, I weighed around 180-ish, give or take a pound or two. The lowest weight that they actually weighed me, which was I was in a bed that they could weigh you in, it was like 136. But I think I lost even more than that.
Wow.
I was roughly, I'd say around 50 pounds.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I was on a feeding tube, too. I couldn't eat. I was, on a feeding tube, trach and all that. So, yeah, I mean, I was, not, I won't say wasting away, but, yeah, I mean, it just, muscle just evaporated. It was gone.
Yeah, the body just eating on itself, just trying to supply that nutrient.
Laying there, not being able to do anything, no movement, that's what it does. So, yeah.
All right, so you got a hold of some vitamins and things that you did that you feel like maybe helped you, because thinking neurological, you're like, hey, maybe I could try something there. Did you see any major improvement with that, or was it maybe small things, or did you notice anything at all?
Well, maybe not major, but I think it definitely helped. Omega-3, alpha lipoic. I can't remember. I'd have to look at the omega-3 B complex and alpha lipoic acid. I think that's the name of it that Dr. John Baker, who's actually my son Jordan's neurologist, recommended.
Right. And
I mean, I definitely saw, not like a drastic change, but it helped. Because at the time I was on a medication, a nerve pain medication called gabapentin, which it helped, but it's not very good for you. It has long-term effects.
Right.
And I'm not one to like to take medication
I'm the same.
You know, especially stuff like that. And I wanted something to replace that, and I had to wean off the gabapentin. It's not something you can cold turkey stop, so I had to wean myself. And I mean, I've been off gabapentin probably 3 months now, whereas I have talked, or I know of other patients who've had Guillain-Barré syndrome 20 plus years ago, and they're still on gabapentin. So I mean,
wow,
yeah. So
it's a very addicting drug from what I've heard.
Yeah,
it can be very addicting.
Yeah, and that's another reason that, and plus the long-term effects. I wanted to get off of that, but I have, and man, I got a little, nerve damage in my feet. I have feeling, but it's almost like that feeling when you wake up in the middle of the night, you've been sleeping on your arm wrong, and it's got that tingling needle stick. I have that feeling in my feet. Will it go away? I don't know. My neurologist said it may or may not. Only time will tell. Mm-hmm. But hey, I'll take that. That's fine. That's kind of like Paul's talking about the thorn in the flesh. He wanted God to take this away from me, and God's like, no, my grace is sufficient. I can look at the way my feet feel as a reminder. Hey, look what I did for you. Look at, in your weakness, I'm your strength. And getting back, just the support, the humility. I was humbled by the response of so many people through this, man. Of course, my family coming through, being there, Andrea there with me the whole time, man, just by my side. My Cameron, Austin, my sons, just when she needed a break, they came, stayed with me. Kinley and Mitchell, my daughter and son-in-law, moved into my house and stay with my son Jordan, who's got cerebral palsy. He's special needs, totally dependent on us. They moved into my house and took care of him while we were in the hospital. My daughter-in-law, Emily, coming to stay with me and doing therapy on me because she's a physical therapist, and stretching me out and staying with me, and while Andrea couldn't be there. And also my other daughter-in-law, Georgie, would come and bring food when she was very much pregnant. And visit me, and just so grateful for these two also. And then Tanner and Genesis, my son, he was in the Air Force down in Florida, just praying and checking on me. They couldn't be there personally because of his military duty, but just my immediate family, just how, man, I mean, I knew they loved me, but they showed it. It's more than just saying it. They showed it. They showed how much they loved me. And my extended family, my mom, my sister, aunts, cousins, just visiting, friends, Big Nate, you coming to visit me, and coworkers, just coming, sending texts, calling, sending gifts. I mean, and then like you mentioned, my customers in Chesterfield, just coming through, just checking on me.
That was the more fascinating. It was like a movement through Chesterfield, small little town, like think Andy Griffith-sized town, and it's Mayberry down there. And they just moved.
It was
awesome,
humbling, and I was so thankful and grateful for, my church family, just, the prayers, the gifts, our youth in church just came and they decorated my hospital room with Bible verses, and it was just amazing to see the support and the people being there for me, man, thick and thin through it. And I told Andrea, I said, talking about the people in Chesterfield, I said, those people must like me a little bit. She said, yeah, I think they do. But I mean, I was humble, man. It was just amazing to see. And, God got me through that, but my family, faith, family, and friends, I mean, that's what I say. Yeah. That's what, because I remember now that I can't remember what hospital I was in. I don't know if it was a nurse or a doctor. They were talking to us, and they said, as far as recovery, they said the biggest thing, 80% of recovery is having support from people, prayer, whatever. And boy, I believe that. I mean, because I had it. I really had it. The medical staff, wherever I was awesome. They just top notch. My therapist. I mean, you know, it was a good experience. I mean, I can say that.
Like it.
I mean, I can't. Nathan, I hate, or do I hate? I won't say hate. Yeah, I went through something horrible, but a lot more good. Is that a word? More good came out of than just having Guillain-Barré Syndrome.
Yeah.
I mean, look what I just said.
Yeah, that's an avalanche of stuff that has come down.
And God giving me the eyes to see it that way, to look at the positive instead of, oh man, I got Guillain-Barré Syndrome. I lost my muscle. Why me? No, my attitude was, I'm gonna get through it. We're going to get through this. You know, when God blesses somebody, it's not just for that person. Getting through this Guillain-Barré Syndrome, where I am now, is not just a blessing for me. Look at the other people it blessed. That's what he does, to glorify him and spread his kingdom. Mm-hmm. And that's through this, I see that we've done that, you know, and that's, if nothing else, that's the most positive thing that's come out of it.
Absolutely.
You know, Bible verses, I mean, one of my biggest ones is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This, Romans 5:3-5. You know, suffering produces perseverance or endurance. Endurance produces character. Character produces hope. We have hope in him, man. Hope that I was going to recover. Hope that people can see that God is good all the time God is good. And then that ultimate hope, that other light I saw. One day, we ain't going to have to worry about Guillain-Barré Syndrome. We're not going to worry about this. We're not going to be sick. Man, no, that's going to be done with. No more tears. No more tears coming out of my eyes. You know how
no more hanky uses.
No more hankies. Man, and that's the hope we have in him, man. And that's how we got to see it. And without having him in our lives, we can't see it that way. The world doesn't see it that way. But with him being his child and knowing that, we can see it that way. Because believe me, Wesley, years ago, he knew when to give me Guillain-Barré Syndrome, because if I'd have had it, yeah, I don't know that I could say that, but yeah, man. I mean, I think I've shared this with you before. You know, I think it was somebody at work. It was before actually I came back to work. I think I was visiting. No, maybe when, I don't know. Sometimes somebody made the comment to me and said, I hope your 2025 is better than your 2024. And I was like, you know, I wouldn't trade 2024. I wouldn't trade what I went through because of where we are now. The good that has come out of it far greatly outweighs the negative of it. And no, I'm thankful, God, that I went through it, that we went through it.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah, and through this, like I said earlier, I think, you know, if I can continue somehow, some way, Lord, show me how can I continue this? You know, if it's going to the hospitals with people that have GBS, what they call it, just being an inspiration to them, say, look, I've been there. Look what God can do. You know, who knows? He's going to show me. Maybe this is a step right here through this interview.
Yeah, that's honestly one reason I wanted you to come on here, is because I know you've been talking about that for a little while, ever since you've gotten out and you've gotten back into day-to-day life. You've talked about, you know, how in the world could I, which is powerful in and of itself, how can I take what happened to me and the experiences that I had and maybe someone that's going through something that I was going through, or the very same thing, and then they're battling, because mentally that could screw with you mentally.
Oh yeah.
You know, being in a situation where you are literally, you know, we take it for granted. You get to thinking about it, but you think about just being stuck one place. You can't do nothing. You can't move. Literally, you are the most vulnerable you could ever be in that moment. And how could it not humble you to be in that experience? But since you've come back, you're a shining beacon of recovery. I'll tell you that much now. You know, being able to come back in that length amount of time, going fully down, and being back up again, back at work. And what we do, we're called industrial athletes.
Yeah.
You're constantly moving, going, picking up boxes up and down a flight of steps over 200 times a day, driving, having to be at your peak physically really all the time. And it's 5 days a week, from 8, could be more long hours, how it goes. What can you say as you sit right here to somebody that may be getting ready to go through this? They're seeing that early stages. They're in that hospital room when they say, hey, maybe you have this, and they're the ones Googling this, and they're watching this right now, trying to figure out how in the world do I get through this, and considering, this very vulnerable state I'm about to be in, or maybe I'm already in.
Just to, first and foremost, give it to God. He is our strength. He's the one that's going to get you through it. But just, pray, have, if possible, support around you, but just to work hard. Don't give up. Hang in there. It will get better, but it is going to get worse, possibly. But just hang in there and know that, work hard and have faith in God that you will get through this and something good will come of it. That was my mindset. That's what got me through. And, if I can just be an inspiration through that to anybody, like I said, then, I hope I'll be able to do that.
I think so, man. I think that, you going through what you went through, seeing how you've used it. Not only that, but now it's kind of funny, you never hear about this disease before or this syndrome before, and now you hear it everywhere. You've had customers come up to you, in Chesterfield saying, hey, this happened, this person, they've got it now, and maybe they're going through it a second time or whatever, which is evidently a possibility. I don't think it's very common.
No, it's not, but it is common. Since then, I've been aware of 2 people that I don't personally know, but people I know who have known 2 people that have gone through it twice.
Yeah, and that's a scary thought just to know. And not only that, think about it. It could be me tomorrow. It could be anybody at any point in time. And to see how you've accepted the news, went through the experience, the entire being vulnerable, how you were able to just give it to God. And I don't want to make that sound easy, because it's definitely not in any situation, not just this, but in any situation, it's not just that easy. But it really is a testament of faith and character and all of that. God's showing you, like, hey, I've got you in His ways. He has ways to do that through no matter what situation. He has ways of showing you, like, hey, just hold on. Hold on. What's the song? The old hymn. Hold on a little longer. Help is on the way.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah. I love that song.
That's good. Yeah.
But He has a way of showing you that, and you taking it. You're very much a go-getter, and I personally think just if anybody goes to that situation, make sure and be active. Yeah. Get active.
Yeah.
In some sort of way.
Take care of yourself.
And I think they even told you that because you were so active in your life before, it actually helped in your recovery. So what you do even before something like that comes up, how you conduct your body, how you take care of your life, doesn't mean you got to be fit Jim on the cover of Men's Health or Women's Health or anything, but taking care of yourself, trying to eat better, eat a healthier lifestyle can really help you in cases such as this in dictating.
Definitely.
And you were one of the healthiest people I know. You had a severe case, but you came back seemingly just like that.
Definitely. Prior, and I'm not bragging. Taking care of the body God gave me. He says our body is His temple, and we need to take care of it. And I have, and the doctors did tell me that because of my prior taking care of myself, that it helped tremendously in my recovery. Because during the course of especially during my therapy, I saw other patients that had GBS that were in the recovery phase. For instance, this one, I remember I was I think it was second week in inpatient therapy. There was a guy walking on they called it the zero gravity harness thing that was mounted to the ceiling that it could put you in and walk.
Yeah.
And my therapist said that guy there, he had GBS, and the therapist can't talk about it, different cases. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, do you know how long it's been since he had it? He said, yeah, about a year and a half. And he was still on the walking, couldn't walk by himself.
Wow.
And right then, first thought was like, oh no, it's gonna take forever. But after that, I said, nope. That ain't not going to be me. But come to find out, to his defense, he had some other underlying medical issues that caused him not to, recover as quick. But just seeing stuff like that, that motivated me too. And it was like, man, that's not going to be me. That's not going to be me.
It's amazing what a mindset will do.
Yeah, exactly.
Simple.
Exactly.
How many people have in their life just said, you know what, come from nothing. I'm going to make something of myself, and no matter what, I'm absolutely driven to get this thing done. And then they're some of the most successful people that you come in contact with.
But I give that to God too, because the positive and knowing is from Him. That strength is from Him. Mm-hmm. Emotional, physical, spiritual is from Him, and then the support from, like I said, faith, family, and friends. That was tremendous.
That's amazing. I'm going to open up the floor to you. You can look in your camera right here if you want to. But what's the last message out of everything we've talked about today? What's the last message you want to tell people out there?
First and foremost, I just know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Because without having Him in your life, being a part of God's family, a child of God, you cannot see things through God's eyes. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't been able to see the positive things through all this if it hadn't have been being a child of God and realizing that. Stay close to your family, friends, cherish your family. Next to God, I couldn't make it without Him. Friends, just so much. It's hang in there, keep the faith, have a good prayer life, have a good, be in God's Word. That's where we get our strength from. God's Word, prayer, fellowship with others, be a part of a church family. It's big. That's first and foremost. And then work your rear end off physically. That mindset, have that positive mindset that, this GBS is not going to get me. With the health of, first and foremost, my Lord and Savior and family, friends, I'm going to do my part in getting through this and working my rear end off. And you'll see the results. You won't regret it. You won't regret it at all.
That's powerful, man. Dude, I have absolutely enjoyed having you out here, dude. This has been, I appreciate you being open to coming on and talking about, I know it's not, there's a lot of positives come out of it, but it's not easy, to go back through and especially emotional things like that.
Yeah, I'm still emotional about it. In fact, this is the first time I've really opened up this much about it and talked, one-on-one about it. And yeah, it's still fresh. I get emotional because it's not a sad, it's a joy emotion. I see what I've been blessed with and how going through this I've blessed hopefully a lot of people. Some I may not even know, but that's what makes me emotional. And really my family, seeing how close my family, how much they really love me, man, that's means a lot.
That's amazing, man. We've talked about it personally, and there was a good number of things, like the series of events that I do know, but there was a lot of stuff in here that I did not. And I do appreciate you coming out.
And I'm sure I missed a lot, but hey, I think, I said what needed to be said. I think I got it out. Feels good to get it out. Not like I was holding it in, that I didn't want him, but it feels good to talk about it.
Right.
Over a year later. But it seems, in some ways years ago, but then in some ways it's still fresh. It's still there, because it is. And like I say, I'm just sitting back and giving it to God and said, Lord, what else do you want me to do with this? Show me where, how, what you want me to do with this. And maybe this, like you said, thank you for having me on and interviewing me, because maybe this is a start of something that his plan that gets out there, and somebody needs some inspiration, needs to see somebody physically that's actually going through or has gone through what they're going through with GBS.
Absolutely, dude. And you have a permanent spot right here, always, if you want it, and you can even take my spot.
No, bless it. I don't have that talent, man. That's you.
No, this has been a fun time, and I do believe that, and I'm really hoping that somebody listens to this out there that is getting ready, or maybe in that storm, and they need a little bit of that motivation. Right, and I'm hoping and praying that this is what this could be to somebody out there. Because if it was me, I know exactly what I'd be doing. I'd be looking up Google and YouTube and getting somebody to do it, and I would be needing that personally, just because I know me and for me, see that. Yeah,
and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but for me personally, when I first got home, I did go to YouTube and looked up.
Is there a lot out there on it?
Yeah, there is actually, and that really helped. It wasn't necessarily. It was just a couple of them just. From beginning to end, somebody was there filming them and doing their whole, and it was good to see, wow, I know exactly what they're going. Yeah, that happened to me, and it was good to see.
Wow,
it was good to see that. But the thing, I don't know how many I looked at throughout the whole, but a couple of them mentioned God and their faith, and that really, really hit home, and it was really good to hear that too.
Right,
because that's. If nothing else, through my experience, know God, you won't regret it.
Honestly, I don't think that. I can look at you and I think that's the only way you can make it through. And be as positive about it as you are, and to look at the positives of it. And once you really start to look at it, the positives way out the negative.
It doesn't even compare to the negative. Doesn't even compare.
I mean, but the way your family showed, it was touching to me to see, as somebody that was on the outside, to see how everybody came through for you. I personally really enjoyed to see that, and it's uplifting even for anybody that's looking at that situation. You say, man, you can't tell me God doesn't answer prayers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's definitely.
But we have to see it. We have to, we have to see it that way. We have to look through. He gives us his eyes to see, but we have to choose to work toward that and see it. And I do apologize to that I didn't get to you quicker, explained it to you what I had. But I was just going through a little something.
You get a big pass on that, 100%. You do not have to confer with me.
Everyone else, but Andrea, my wife Andrea, and Austin, and Cameron and Kenley, and they were good at, at least weekly kind of sending out once we got in and established, knew what was going on, kind of good about getting it out there to kind of what was going on. And so,
and because y'all had to let work know, like, hey, by the way, I don't think I'm coming to work today.
I might not be back for a while. But
so that's how I figured it out. But honestly, in that situation, I wouldn't know what in the world to do. I don't. So 100%. I completely understand, brother.
Yeah.
One more cool little fun question, and it's just, we like to talk this stuff all the time. But tell me about your Clemson Tigers going into this year. 2025 football season. Cade Klubnik, Heisman.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about. I don't like the hype. I don't like, him being like a front runner in Heisman. I don't like being top 5. we hadn't proven a thing yet. And I mean, now we got the personnel, we got a new defensive coordinator, and so I mean the possibility's there, but they got to prove it, man. Big test, first opening game against LSU.
Is that at LSU or is that?
It's in the real Death Valley.
Okay.
But yeah, the potential's there, but we'll see. Hopefully, we'll have a decent season.
Well, if all else fails, you can watch the drama that is North Carolina. So that helps. You get a soap opera and good. You guys get good football over there, and then you can watch the soap opera with us. But hey, man, thank you so much for being out here. I want to do a special thank you to Dr. Trent McLaughlin and Antioch Baptist Church for allowing us to be able to use one of their rooms for this podcast. I absolutely appreciate them. The links in the description are going to be there to go to their YouTube channel. You can go check out all the sermons. We just got done with a great series. Easter is a big deal series. Awesome live action. You can see it. I'm a guy that learns visually and being able to see things along as hear them. He does a great job of going through not only just the Easter story, but everything that builds up to it, and also what happened afterwards. I thought it was a great job. So be sure and go check out Antioch Baptist Church Lancaster on YouTube, and you can go over there, subscribe, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get our subscriber numbers up, get that message out even more. And I actually
watched a couple of those. And
oh, really?
Very good. Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
We had a great time.
Great message.
Oh man, Trent does a great job, and for him to be open to letting us use this is I absolutely appreciate that. But hey, we're gonna get out of here. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. If you are brand new to the channel, be sure to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. Comment down there, and maybe we can have this here fella come back sometime pretty soon and see us again. But dude, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much, dude. I love you too, brother. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next time.